everybody, it's Jen with Caketastic Cakes, and this is not a cake today. I am making this video for my kids. I have a few family recipes that I make every year, and at Christmas time I always make these oatmeal raisin cookies. And so I thought it might be nice to do a video on how I make them. So one day if my kids want to do it, or whoever they're with want to make it, they can have it and see how I did it. So yeah, it's just like a little, I guess, video diary kind of thing. Little family tradition coming at you here. So if you want to make really good raisin cookies, follow along. Otherwise, this is for my boys. Okay, I am starting with my oatmeal raisin cookie recipe by mixing together in a mixer 1 cup of Crisco. I'm using, of course, some cheaper version of Crisco, the store brand Crisco, because when I'm making this video, food prices ain't the best. So yeah, you save a little here and there. And don't be freaked out that I'm using Crisco either. Some recipes use butter, but this one uses Crisco for its base. Okay, once you have all of it into your mixer, make sure you scrape your sides of your measuring bowl or measuring cup, whatever you're using. And now I'm going to add some cinnamon. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. This is just regular old cinnamon. I don't know, maybe if you use a fancy brand it'll taste better, but yeah, this one seems to do the trick. They are pretty much level, pretty much full. As you can see, it's not exactly perfect, and that's okay. Now I'm going to add some vanilla extract again. I'm sure it would taste better with the real stuff, but this is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, right into the bowl. Here comes the important part, molasses. I use Grandma's molasses. Different molasses have different flavors. It's important if you boys want your cookies to taste like the ones I made, you got to use this stuff. And I add 3 tablespoons, but look at how I do it. This is the technique right here. When I pour it into the spoon, I wait until it overflows and I still let it kind of dribble out of the jar. So I'm getting more than 3 tablespoons of molasses into my mix there, and that's good. You want it that way. And I even scrape out the spoon. So yeah, I really go heavy with the molasses, and I only use the Grandma's molasses. Like I said, they taste different. Now you're going to set your mixer on the lowest setting and let it mix thoroughly. I am going to let it mix for about 1.5 minutes, I think it was, because you're going to see it's going to have a little cut. There we go, 1 minute later, literally removed 1 minute of mixing. And you can see how nice and kind of creamy it is. Now we're going to get into the part of the recipe where we just start adding twos. This is going to be 2 cups of sugar. It's just regular granulated sugar. Nothing special there. When you pour it in, you don't have to go real slow because right now the batter is still pretty wet. So it's good. My sugar was a little clumpy there, so rather than have a big lump dump onto the island, I just broke it up in order to pour out another cup. And this one you might want to pour a little bit slower, but meh, it still works. No problems there. And as you can see, it gets mixed in really quickly, and I did spill a little. So yes, clean it up. Clean up as you go, and that'll make it better at the end as well. Now, once again, you're going to let this mix for about 30 seconds. You can see it's starting to come off the walls and kind of stick together into one lump there. This is the perfect time to give it a little pause and scrape the walls down. You see how so much of it is becoming that one mass in the center, but you got that ring around the top? Scrape it off, man. That's good stuff. Scrape it off. Make sure it gets nice and incorporated at the bottom. Especially with this mixer, it doesn't always get everything on the very bottom. So I dig deep, go around, wipe off the extra because that is oatmeal raisin cookie gold. You don't want to lose any of your efforts there. Just give it another little mix to get the stuff that you scraped off the walls back incorporated, and then you're ready to move on. Okay. Again, this is probably another 30 seconds worth of mixing. It's not a lot. All right, now we're going to add 2 eggs. These eggs are room temperature. They've been sitting on the counter for a little while so that they're not cold. They're not going to shock the cookie dough or anything like that. And when you add them, add 1 at a time. I always crack it into another container first in order to avoid accidentally getting any eggshell into the cookies or cakes or whatever you're making. It's just kind of a nice rule of thumb because you don't want that. You add them 1 at a time and let each one get mixed in before you add the second one. See, you can see again, a little time cut there. It was about 30 seconds of mixing, lots of 30 seconds of mixing. And it's a lighter color, it's more creamy, it looks really good. If you were to eat some, which, you know, legally I cannot recommend you do because it's raw, it would taste really good. Just saying. All right, now we're getting back into the twos again. Everything is in twos with this recipe. It's pretty easy, except for the molasses and the 1 cup of Crisco. Everything else is two. But anyway, okay. I am adding the flour now. This is all-purpose flour. It is just unbleached all-purpose flour, and you're going to add 2 cups. When you're adding this, unlike the sugar, you don't want to go crazy and just dump it all at once. You want to give it a little bit at a time. Give the dough a chance to absorb some of it. And this again is on the lowest setting, just on the first setting of the mixer. And if you do it too fast or you have it the speed too high in your mixer, it's going to throw the flour all over your counter, and it's just annoying, is really all it is. Now, as you can see, it's still a pretty nice moist dough there. It's starting to kick around my mixer a little bit. While that's going, I'm going to measure out the next ingredient, which is 2 cups of oats. These are old-fashioned Quaker oats, not the minute ones. You can use the quick ones, the quick oats. It doesn't matter. They're both wonderful. But this is a good time to kind of pause it and once again scrape down the sides. We've got egg and flour in there, and we really want to make sure it's all mixed in. So this is, like I said, a good chance to just give it a little wipe down once again. When you get it all scraped off the sides, scraped off the bottom, just like that. And again, you got some on your, got some on the spatula. Gonna get that back in there as best I can. Turn it back on, and then we're gonna add the oats. It's really gonna start kicking my mixer around now. You'll see it jiggling a lot. It gets thick. It's a thick cookie dough, so I had to put the lock on it. Just let this mix a little bit. You don't want it to go too far because you don't want to accidentally start beating up the oats and breaking them up. You want them to stay pretty intact. Now, once your oats are thoroughly incorporated into the dough, we're going to add the last thing. And you can see I turned it off because I didn't want it to keep mixing anymore. And this is the raisins. These are the raisins parts. Now, I'm sure if you use a better quality raisins, you'll have a better quality of cookie. I'm using the raisins that my one son would bring home from lunch every day. He brings home his and all his friends, so I have this big collection of raisins going. So dump your 2 cups of raisins in, like I said, another 2-cupper. And again, just to the point where it mixes together and incorporates. It's really going to be tough. Well, maybe if you have a newer mixer, mine's a little old at this point. But it might be tough for your mixer, and if it is, just turn it off. Give your poor thing a break because you don't want to kill it. And you can just kind of fold the raisins in yourself the last little bit. I find if you do end up having to, you know, finish mixing the raisins in yourself, you're going to have to dig deep. That's where it just was too thick and it couldn't really mix down anymore. You can see it's kind of heavy raisins in one spot, a little thinner. Just fold it over a few times until it looks good. And then, yeah, and like I said before, I don't recommend it, but if you were to taste it, it's pretty good. I like raw cookie dough. All right, as far as putting them on the cookie sheets, I have silicone mats here, and I'm using a large spoon. I don't know if it's a soup spoon or cereal spoon, whatever it is. It's not like the little teaspoon that comes in your silverware set. It's the bigger one. And I take a heaping spoonful that covers it about halfway. So let's say like that. You can kind of see it fills up half this, goes up half the spoon, but it's pretty heaping. And I just squish it a little bit into more of a shape because that's pretty irregular. And I want them to be more or less cookie shaped. You know, these aren't going to win any prizes for beauty, but they taste really good. I've had multiple people who don't like oatmeal raisin cookies love these cookies. And I know you guys love them too. Every year you guys like my oatmeal raisin cookies. So now you can make them for yourself. And yeah, so I have big cookie sheets, big silicone mats. I'm going to cook them at a little less than 350, so more like 340, honestly. I go between 325 and 350 when I set the oven. And I'm going to bake them for about 10 minutes. That's going to make them soft. We do soft, chewy cookies in this house. And as you can see, around the very edges, when they're done, They have like a little darker brown. You can see it on, especially the one in the right or the left side. It's a little bit more of a darker ring of brown around the edge. That's when I know they're done. Let them sit on the cookie sheet. Don't take them off for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, they've set enough that you can move them onto your cooling rack. This is usually where the cookies start getting stolen and taken away. I didn't realize it, but while I was taking these off the first set, my first cookie tray, my family was already eating cookies off of the other cookie sheet, so there's quite a few less for you to see me take off here and just put on there, but that just shows how much you guys like them. Yes. And like I said, this is for anyone who wants to make oatmeal raisin cookies, but I don't know, maybe some of you out there have those recipes a grandma or someone used to make and you wish you knew how they did it. So that's what this is for. This is for my kids so they can make oatmeal raisin cookies just like mom used to make, and actually their grandmother too. And here is the recipe. So yes, now you have the recipe. Now you saw how I did it, and now you can make it too.